Hi there, Richard Fulmer here, and welcome to another Richard's Rock Rambles, the channel where we look at all things rock related, whether it be in the genres of hard rock, blues, progressive rock, classic rock, jazz rock, fusion. That's pretty much what we cover on the channel. So what we've been doing for the past couple of weeks, for quite a while actually, is we've been having a look at albums that have turned 50 in 2022. So all these bands started out with these albums way back in 1972, and this is the birthday, 50 years on. And we've covered some notable ones, and today is no exception. We're going to go across to the UK and have a look at the progressive rock giants, Yes, who, especially in the early 70s, were at their peak. That was when they were really flying high. And then in the mid-70s, with the advent of punk and a few other things happening, prog took a bit of a dip. It has since come back. I don't think it's ever totally gone away, but music tastes change, things go in and out of fashion. But we're going to have a look at probably, for me, their most famous album, at least from the 70s, and that's the album Close to the Edge, which turns 50 this year. An amazing lineup in the band at the time, some stellar musicians who also went on to have a lot of solo careers, and just a great band for the time. And I think if you listen to the music, it is a little bit of the time, but it's also timeless. I can still enjoy this music in 2022. It's just because it's so well done. There were a few albums afterwards, like Tales from Topographic Oceans, where I think they got a little bit self-indulgent and perhaps went a little bit too far and went over the head of a lot of people, I thought. But this one was still very accessible. So it was recorded at the Advision Studios in London between February and June 1972. And it was released on the 13th of September 1972, so a few months afterwards, on the Atlantic label. That was the big Warner Brothers Atlantic label, produced by Eddie Offord. And it peaked at number 4 on the UK album charts and number 3 on the Billboard 200 in the States. So it didn't do too badly. But I think as the years have gone on, it's reached sort of iconic status, and it's now regarded as one of the top progressive rock albums from the 70s, especially from the UK bands. I think the States were a little bit slow to catch up. There were some bands that caught up later, like Kansas and a few others. But I think as far as progressive rock in the 70s goes, it's all centered in the UK. So, of course, this would be one of many albums that they released, which would have fantastic artwork done by the great artist Roger Dean, who also did work for Uriah Heep, and he did work for Badger and Babe Ruth and many other bands. But how's that? I mean, it's simple, and yet it says enough. Close to the Edge with the different shades of green there. The inside cover is what's amazing. And the movie Avatar, I think, stole a lot of ideas from Roger Dean. There we go. That's just incredible. And of course, it looks so much better when you hold up a record. The vinyl, the CDs just can't do it justice. So who was in the band at the time? We had John Anderson on vocals, with that ethereal voice of his, very high-pitched. Took me a while to get into his vocals. For me, it wasn't rough enough, but it suits the music. The great Bill Bruford on percussion, and this would turn out to be his final album with the band. He would go on to King Crimson afterwards. Steve Howe on guitar and vocals, also not a bad singer. Chris Squire on bass and vocals. His vocals are actually really good, very similar to John Anderson's. And Rick Wakeman on keyboards. So you can see when I said there were some stellar musicians here, I wasn't kidding. So the production was Yes and Eddie Offord. The tapes by Mike Dunn. And let's see if I can show you some photographs of the guys at the back here. That's John Anderson over there. That's Chris Squire, obviously all very young. This was all in their 20s, I would imagine. That's Steve Howe. That's Rick Wakeman. That's the producer, Eddie Offord. And that's Steve Howe. That's Steve Howe over there. That's Bill Bruford. Getting my names mixed up here. So a great cast of characters, and they really shone on this album. So the tracks that we have here, and You and I, which it's the first track, Chord of Life. So what happens with these songs is they have different parts to them. Eclipse, The Preacher, The Teacher, and probably the best track on the whole album, Siberian Catrue, with John Anderson doing most of the lyric writing. And, well, the themes were Anderson, Howe, and Wakeman, and the arrangement was done by the whole band. Incredible guitar work, lots of time changes in the drum department. Chris Squires, Rickenbacker bass growling throughout. Just amazing stuff. Then, obviously, you had the title track, Close to the Edge, The Solid Time of Change, Total Mass, Retain, I Get Up, I Get Down, and Seasons of Man. There's no filler on this album. Each track is amazing. And you have to listen to it from the first track to the last. It's not one of those albums that you put on, you can just cherry pick a track. You know, especially with prog rock, it tells you a story. Very much in the vein of a Dark Side of the Moon kind of thing. So yeah, those are the tracks. Close to the Edge by Yes. And here you got all the lyrics as well on the vinyl. I think this has been remastered and reissued on CD, so I'm sure you'll get all the lyrics with that as well. And I think this album, along with probably Fragile, for me, are the two top Yes albums from that early 70s period. And as I'm fighting to try and get this, I think I'll do that later. Later on, they would change their style quite a bit. Patrick Moraz would come in, and then eventually our own South African Trevor Rabin would join the band, and they would have a new lease on life, because before he joined, I think Yes pretty much done and dusted. And of course 90125 was a huge album, Owner of a Lonely Heart, etc., but that's a story for another day. So there we go, another album which is essential if you're into good early 70s progressive rock. I mean, along with bands like Genesis, King Crimson, this album by Yes, who else would there be? Strawbs, even some of the very early Jethro Tull. Some amazing music coming out in the 70s. Definitely want to own if you don't have it already. So next time round, we're going to have a look at another album that's turned 50, and we're going to go in a very different direction, across to the States, and the one and only Neil Young, and his iconic album called Harvest. Have yourselves a great week. Any comments down below, please give us a thumbs up, like and subscribe. It'll be fantastic. I'll catch you next time. Cheers.